Are you a financial advice professional and you've just given dozens of referrals to a CPA or an attorney and never received clients or referrals in return? Like, is that you? Well, today I'm going to talk to you about 4 major obstacles or barriers, if you will, that you must overcome in order to attract referrals from these individuals. Now, these obstacles are the reasons why it can be challenging to set up these partnerships. So before you just get a list of 100 or more CPAs in your town, I want you to understand why it's so important to not only understand the barriers, but then give yourself an opportunity to create a strategy or a plan to overcome them and develop these connections. So I think you're going to be really excited after this, but let's first dive into what these barriers are, okay? So the first barrier that you must overcome is that there is a high risk perception, right? So barrier number 1 is risk. Now, this is the risk that a CPA has from doing business with you or partnering with you. Now, I know you may think that, well, there's more risk of me working with them as well. Well, you're right. It goes both ways. But let's just for a moment think about their perspective. Now, they can give you referrals, but if they're not sure of, your ability as a financial advisor or the type of advice you give and service, quality of service that you give to clients, well, there's a risk factor, right? I remember right here, not miles, probably about 5 miles from here, there's a CPA's office, and she literally gave a referral to a financial advice professionals, and for years had just kept reading all these trade magazines and articles why it's so important for her as a CPA to partner with financial advice professionals. And she would hear that at conferences and all that, so she decided to try it. So she gives a referral to a very nice financial advisor that she had gotten to know, and she gave the referral. The financial advisor gave her a nice plan, or the client a nice plan and perhaps a good recommendation. But the only problem was that the client really didn't like it. And in fact, it actually turned out to be somewhat detrimental to the plan that the CPA and the business owner had kind of established from a tax planning perspective. So, long story short, the CPA is fired by her best client. Yes, she lost her best client from giving her first referral to a financial advisor. Right, so there's a risk that exists, and she's not the only one. That the CPA, before they know you, right, before they give the referral, like there's a risk factor that, and if you understand that, you can understand craft a strategy to work deeper, to develop deeper trust and relationship and rapport with that individual. But understand that there's a risk factor, a very high level of risk. Okay, which kind of leads us to the second barrier that exists in terms of why you may not be getting referrals from that CPA that you know, right? And this has to do with professional trust. There's a low level of professional trust. Now, what do we mean by professional trust? So there's a difference between personal trust and professional trust, right? And so professional trust, if you start looking at the dictionary in terms of what is trust and professional and all that, I would give you a definition that this is the confidence that that individual has in your ability as a professional. To handle a client, to handle the client's needs, to serve them well. How strong is their confidence in your ability? Are you a guaranteed source for them? Like, is it guaranteed that you're just going to do a good job, right? Doing what you do, right? And initially, before you meet and get a chance to know a center of influence, such as an attorney, you have to take time to build professional trust, because it always starts at a very low level. Now, so not only is there a risk that we just mentioned, but there's a very low level of professional trust. And I'll say that if the risk factor is here, right? Let's say the trust is here, right? You need to build this level of trust above this threshold, right? It has to be above that threshold in order for you to even think about getting referrals. Don't even think about getting referrals unless you've taken time to build trust up to a certain level. So you've got a high risk, number one, and then you have a low level of professional trust, number two. All right. Now, the third reason, or the barrier that you must overcome, is that there is a negative view of salespeople. Now, I know some of you may not want to think of yourself as a salesperson, but they do, right? And the fact of the matter is, you are, and there's nothing wrong with sales, of course, as you know, right? But you are presenting an idea. And a lot of times these CPAs, they don't want to ever appear biased. So you have an opinion, you have a belief, you're presenting that strategy or concept or investment plan to this individual, then you are in the category of sales, right? So, and understand that CPAs in particular are very risk averse. They don't want to come across biased. They don't want to come across like they're, favoring one versus the other, just from a compliance standpoint. So they are very risk averse to salespeople. And when you make that phone call, especially if you do it cold, understand that there's risk there's no trust, but they also have a negative view of salespeople in most cases, right, at the onset. So it's your job, as you communicate with them, as you meet with them, as you build trust, that you build that trust enough to compensate for that negative view. So maybe you are a salesperson, but you know what? There's something different about you. There's something different about the way you carry yourself, the way you present, the way you deal with clients, right? These are all factors that go into abolishing some of these obstacles, and that's the third obstacle, which is that the whole negative view of salespeople. All right, so and then now the fourth view, I'll just write this up here on the board real quick, is the sales. Now, the fourth obstacle that you need to overcome is what I call past experiences. Now, this one is where I found this out after hundreds of conversations with experienced advisors and even younger advisors. The past experience that you have influences the way you move forward with these relationships. All right. So now these past experiences are kind of broken down into two groups, right? I'd say number one, it's your own. Okay. So this is you're an advisor. You've been in the business for 25 years. You went to a seminar years ago to try to learn how to work with CPAs and attorneys, and you went out there all excited to meet with a CPA, and you're going to just go ahead and start this new initiative, and you tried it, you put energy, and you know what? It didn't work. Or you try to talk to that, you work with an attorney one time, and you had a conversation with them, and then 2 weeks later, your client calls you because they got billed $300 for your phone call, and you thought that was wrong. So, and experiences like this can start to cloud your view, and you lose energy when you take that next approach with your next CPA attorney, because you are constantly remembering. You're always reminded of that last experience, and rightfully so, right? You want to learn from past experiences. However, in this case, I'd encourage you to use it as a learning experience. However, don't use it as a hindrance or baggage, right? To make it more difficult to run the race. Right, we want to help you get free. In all of our training, all of our courses, all of our coaching, we try to help remove a lot of those pre-existing barriers or mindsets, so you can just start with a clean slate and have some more energy to go out there and start approaching CPAs and attorneys properly. Right, so you don't want to let your own experience slow you down. Now, the other side of the past experiences is actually just what I just said, others. And I would take it a step further to say other financial advisors or other insurance agents, other individuals that maybe you respect or talk to. All right, for example, I'm having lunch one time with an LPL advisor, and he's telling me, we're talking about CPA and attorney relationships, and he's telling me, he said, you know what, Chris, I don't think it works. I don't think it works to work with CPAs. I'm like, why do you say that? He's like, well, another advisor in my office, and then he starts to tell a story. So that 25-year-old or 25-year veteran, 30-year veteran, has now communicated to the younger advisor, just getting started in the industry, the 22-year-old, and he's telling them, or she's telling them, it doesn't work. It's not a good ROI. It's a waste of time. And you know what? That new advisor starts to believe that. So now, when it comes time to proceed and start working with CPAs and attorneys, they've got that music already. It's not even their experience. It's not even their own music. But some other person, outside influence, has affected the success, and I get so bothered when I hear that, because I've heard that so many times, right? So I encourage you, if you are a more experienced advisor, don't share these negative experiences like that in that light with new. The reality is, there is a good way to build trust and build a large network and get referrals, but it doesn't have to be you sharing your negative experience with the next generation advisor. Okay, but that's a major barrier that you may have to overcome. All right, so these are the 4 barriers, folks. We have the high risk perception. We have the fact that there's low professional trust, and you also have that there's a negative view of salespeople that you have to overcome. And then finally, the past experiences, both your own and from others. If you can understand these barriers, and now we can simply craft a strategy to overcome these barriers, you can go out there and build a solid network of CPAs and attorneys that refer you business consistently. I hope this helps. We'll see you next time.